Can you imagine winds howling at 195 kilometers per hour, relentless rain pelting down, and gusts so fierce they could almost lift your house? No, this isn't the latest disaster movie on your streaming service. This is the Philippines. A nation celebrated for its breathtaking islands and resilient people has once again faced nature's fury. This time, it came in the form of Supertyphoon Pepito, known internationally as Man-yi. A monstrous force of nature, Pepito stormed through with winds that screamed louder than jet engines and rain that turned roads into rivers. So, what does it mean for a country already grappling with a series of relentless typhoons? Let's find out together. First, let's talk meteorology, because Pepito didn't just wake up one day and decide to wreak havoc. It began brewing on November 9th, 2024, in the vast and temperamental Pacific Ocean. Like a boxer winding up for a knockout punch, it quickly gained strength, and before long, the Japan Meteorological Agency declared it a super typhoon. As it entered the Philippine Area of Responsibility, PRR, Pagasa gave it the local name Pepito, an innocuous-sounding name for a storm that would leave devastation in its wake. The storm reached maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour, 121 miles per hour, with gusts up to 325 kilometers per hour, 201 miles per hour at its peak. This intensity is comparable to a Category 5 hurricane, the highest level on the Saffir-Simpson scale, a terrifying benchmark that signifies catastrophic damage. Man-yi made landfall on November 16, 2024, at approximately 9:40 p.m. PHT, 1340 UTC, on Catanduanes Island, an area that became ground zero for the storm's ferocity. By the time it hit, Pepito was a raging monster, capable of ripping roofs from houses, toppling trees like matchsticks, and sending entire communities scrambling for safety. It wasn't just a typhoon, it was a full-blown assault on nature, infrastructure, and human resilience. If there's one thing the Filipinos have learned over decades of dealing with typhoons, it's this: prepare for the worst. Days before Pepito's arrival, government agencies sprang into action. Over 650,000 people were urged to evacuate their homes. By landfall, more than 400,000 had followed orders, filling evacuation centres with nervous energy and prayers. The evacuation effort wasn't just about moving people, it was about saving lives. Civil defence teams worked tirelessly to ensure high-risk areas, including coastal towns and landslide-prone regions, were cleared. Was it enough? Unfortunately, even the best efforts couldn't shield everyone from Pepito's wrath. Pepito wasn't just one storm in isolation. It came after a month already marked by relentless weather events. Earlier typhoons had left communities battered, with over 160 fatalities already recorded before Pepito arrived. For some, it wasn't just a storm. It was the final blow to an already crumbling situation. In total, nearly 685,071 people have been displaced by the series of storms in recent weeks. Families huddled in evacuation centres, clutching what little they could save: photographs, clothes, and hope. Yet, despite their resilience, the humanitarian crisis deepened, with reports of inadequate supplies and overcrowding in shelters. Pepito carved its way through the heart of the Philippines with no regard for life or property. The confirmed death toll from this super typhoon is 8 so far, but that number could rise as rescuers reach remote areas. The storm injured many more and left communities scrambling for basic necessities. The destruction wasn't limited to homes and people. Pepito's torrential rains triggered massive floods that swallowed entire villages and landslides that reshaped the land itself. Roads disappeared, rivers overflowed, and power lines snapped, leaving millions without electricity. Catanduanes, the first landfall point, bore the brunt of Pepito's power. Known for its lush landscapes and vibrant culture, the island now resembles a war zone. Relief workers described scenes of unimaginable destruction, roofs shredded, coconut trees uprooted, and entire communities submerged under muddy water. Let's talk numbers, because the economic toll of Supertyphoon Pepito isn't just steep, it's staggering. Early assessments peg agricultural losses at a whopping $146,515. That might seem like just another statistic, but for the countless farmers who depend on these crops, it's a devastating reality. The damage isn't just to their wallets, it's to their way of life. Imagine this: fields of rice and corn, the lifeblood of rural communities, wiped out in mere hours. In a country where agriculture forms the backbone of the economy, this isn't just a hit to farmers. Infrastructure damages have already soared past $8 million, and the tally is still climbing. Roads gone, bridges collapsed, schools and homes obliterated. The destruction isn't just widespread, it's paralyzing. And let's be honest, rebuilding this isn't a matter of days or weeks. We're talking months, possibly years of hard work and massive funding. For a country already managing a stretched budget and recovering from previous storms, this is yet another enormous strain. The question now is, can these losses ever be fully repaired? The answer is complicated. Financial aid and international support might help rebuild the physical damages, but for the farmers whose crops were their lifeline and the communities left in limbo, the recovery is as much about resilience as it is about resources. When disaster strikes, it's all hands on deck, and the response to Supertyphoon Pepito was no exception. The Philippine government quickly swung into action, activating its disaster response protocols to minimize loss and ensure public safety. Local officials took decisive steps, imposing curfews to keep people off the streets during the storm's peak, suspending maritime activities, and issuing repeated warnings for residents to remain vigilant. Interior Undersecretary Marlo Iringan didn't mince words, emphasizing the critical importance of preemptive evacuations. Lives are irreplaceable, he reminded everyone, a stark truth that resonated with millions as evacuation centers filled up in anticipation of Pepito's arrival. And it wasn't just the government stepping up. International organizations and NGOs mobilized quickly, providing vital aid to those hit hardest. The Philippines had been battered by multiple storms in just a matter of weeks. Relief workers faced the daunting task of juggling immediate needs with a looming sense of exhaustion. Every helping hand mattered, whether it came from a government official, a volunteer, or an international donor. Why is the Philippines constantly in the crosshairs of such devastating storms? Well, it's not just bad luck. Geographically, the Philippines is right in the Typhoon Alley of the Pacific, an area notorious for its ideal storm brewing conditions. But there's more to it than just location. Climate experts warn that climate change is dialing up the intensity of these storms. Warmer ocean temperatures act like fuel for typhoons, giving them the energy to grow larger, faster, and more destructive. And it doesn't stop there. Rising sea levels compound the problem, increasing the likelihood of catastrophic storm surges that devastate coastal communities. The statistics are staggering. Typhoons are not only becoming stronger but also more frequent. And it forces us to ask an uncomfortable but critical question: are we doing enough? Are we addressing the root causes of this escalating crisis? This isn't just a question for the Philippines, it's a question for the entire world, a challenge that demands global action. Because when a storm like Pepito wreaks havoc, it's a stark reminder that climate change isn't a distant threat, it's here, and it's relentless. As Pepito finally exits the country, leaving a trail of heartbreak and destruction, the road to recovery begins. Though it may take months, even years, to restore what was lost. But the bigger challenge lies in preparing for the future. With typhoons becoming stronger and more frequent, the Philippines must invest in climate-resilient infrastructure and early warning systems. This isn't just about surviving the next storm, it's about thriving despite it. Typhoon Pepito may have passed, but its lessons remain. Whether you're in the Philippines or halfway across the world, there's something you can do. Advocate for climate action, support disaster relief efforts, or simply educate yourself about the challenges faced by vulnerable nations. The resilience of the Filipino people is inspiring, but they can't do it alone. It's time for all of us to step up, because if there's one thing Pepito has shown, it's that the impacts of climate change are no longer a distant problem. They're here and they're now. Before you go, let's keep the conversation alive. If you found this report insightful or if it moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. What do you think about the growing impact of these extreme weather events? Let us know. And hey, if you're passionate about staying informed on critical global issues, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next update.